pressing play and then doing what you did in the studio just now while the song was on. Arms going everywhere.
I was singing along quite majestically.
All the faces. That kind of furious Bruce face.
Fury, but also great passion.
Oh, but passion and love as well at the same time.
Passion, love, desire. You know, I said before, I have great desire for a boss.
He does all those faces. He does them all.
Exactly. So anyway, yes, you can get in touch, as many of you have been doing, and let us know the songs that changed your life and for what reason. A gang here are recommending theirs. Harry, have you got any from the text and the email?
Yeah, Andy's texted in and said, Reel Around the Fountain by the Smiths, introducing him to the world of angst and feelings of inadequacy that dominated his life for the next 10 years.
Oh,
yeah.
How old is he?
He doesn't say. Stu in Mumpton says, Time of Your Life by Green Day at Reading Festival. It was the first time he got drunk and also the first time he broke his arm.
Whoa! Yeah. Heady combination.
An anonymous texter ending 57 said, Tamfex by Aphex Twin. I went mad while listening to it whilst on one. Don't know what that means.
I have no idea either, and neither do our listeners. Tiny Dan.
Yes, Frank Lenzi, who sounds like he's probably a bit tough, actually, a bit tasty.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with Lenzi.
No, you wouldn't mess with Lenzi, the lens. Personal Jesus by Depeche Mode.
Ooh.
He's gone for. 1989, picture the young Frank Lenzi subsisting on a diet of Expose, I don't remember them, and Paula Abdul.
Right.
Watching MTV,
Yeah.
the video for Personal Jesus comes on. Young Lenzi thinks, oh my God, years ago, I hated them. He loved Personal Jesus, found redemption, went on, discovered The Cure, James Blur, Jane's Addiction, and all that lot, all from the Personal Jesus.
See, that's exactly what a good tune like that can do for you. Rufus.
Keith has written in from Bradford. He's given us a nice little progression, actually. He starts off with the Smiths, this charming man, saying, I moved away from listening to Saxon and started listening to the Smiths quite a lot. Then he says, Eric B. and Rakim got bored of Morrissey's shoegazing and got into Paid in Full by Eric B. and Rakim. And then finally says, then I moved on to Massive Attack's Unfinished Sympathy because I couldn't stand the misogynistic hip-hop or the boring shoegazing. So he's made a lot of changes in his life.
Yeah,
and he's talking us through them.
He's a bit fickle.
It
sounds like. What, has he got his name? What's his name?
Keith in Bradford. He's a fair weather friend, but he loves his music.
Well, clearly he does.
Yeah.
Well, not for long. And Sammy, you got some.
Dangerous Dave's parents also weren't massive music fans, unless you count the Music Man song, which his mum loves. He was 14, used to watch Top of the Pops for a little bit of boob or leg, and then On King.
A little bit of boob or leg? Yeah, that's great.
Well, as he states, as most 14-year-old lads, and my father. So I'm sure a lot of dads across
Do
the
you
land
mean your father or his?
Mine and probably his, but definitely
Sammy,
mine.
your father tunes in for a bit of boob and leg.
He definitely used to, I'm sure. I may have masked that with a love of music, but I'm sure there was boob and leg.
There ain't nothing wrong with a little boob and leg. Just to paraphrase R. Kelly. So he was tuning in for some boob and leg, but wait a minute, what caught his ear?
The Libertines, they burst into his ears, he states, and the song was Time for Heroes, of course.
Well, I can imagine the Libertines very much the Smiths for a more recent generation. Profound. So Dan, we'll return to you and your tune that changed your life.
Yes, I'm going to go for the record. I was trying to think back, and as far as I can tell, this is the first record I owned, and it's the one that sparked my love affair, latterly love-hate affair with vinyl. You'll know from when we were flatmates, my vinyl collection grew exponentially, and I love it, and I hate it, because every time we move, it's so cumbersome, and it's so annoying, but I still can't get over downloading is fine, it's easy, CDs are fine, but you cannot beat a record. This was from a record from the 80s which had a big gatefold sleeve. I love that. I would stare at the pictures in the middle. I love the size of vinyl and the smell of it.
What was the picture in the middle?
Well, it was a series. It would help if I explained the record, which is it was Grace Jones' Island Life, and inside is kind of a montage of pictures from Grace's life, a lot of which are imagined.
Right.
Imaginary shots of her.
Do they feature some boob and leg?
Yeah,
there ain't nothing wrong with it.
They do, and young Dan, he was obviously trying to.
He's a man of passions. He's a red-blooded animal.
The parents were around all the time, and I needed to have a look at the little boob and leg, didn't I? And it was the best way I could do it. No, I'm looking at my record, Mum. It's fine. It's
Sure,
fine.
I'm just checking out the interesting sleeve notes.
Yes,
I like the fact it's a little boob and leg for a tiny man.
Well, too much would overwhelm me. The tune is "Slave to the Rhythm."
Oh. The choice of Tiny Dan here on the Steve Show this week. We are playing songs that changed our life in some small way, and that was Tiny Dan's. What was it?
Yes, it was Grace Jones' "Slave to the Rhythm," and it was a blueprint of all the songs that I've gone out and bought since. A bit funky, a bit cool, a bit left field, a little bit preposterous, and a little bit cheesy, and I love it all.
That sums you up perfectly.
It does a bit, doesn't it? Yeah.
Jesse Malin's got a new album out of cover versions. It's called On Your Sleeve, and here's his version of a Lou Reed classic. Jesse Malin from his new album of cover versions. That's called On Your... the album's called On Your Sleeve, and that obviously is his version of Walk on the Wild Side by Lou Reed. So it's a Steve Show, 6 Music, and we are talking today about songs that changed our life, but that doesn't mean we can't take a little break from that fascinating discussion and talk to one of you, the average Joe on the street, you know. And when I say average, of course, I don't mean that by way of an insult. I mean someone who's not on the radio, you know. What, a pleb? No, I don't mean a pleb. I mean just, you know, a person. Hey, Alex, how's it going?
Hey, Steve.
All right, mate. Thanks for digging me out of that hole.
Average, thank you, sir.
Are you pretty average?
I'm a little bit average.
Well, does that mean that you're sort of regular size and you can get trousers?
Yeah, I'm regular size. I don't find it difficult to find myself trousers, although I do wearing a suit. I do enjoy wearing a suit.
You like wearing a suit?
I do.
There you go. Get yourself on the internet, mate.
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 18 at the moment. Just
Very young. Okay, so that's despicably young. I imagine you spend a lot of time on the internet anyway, do you? Just, you know, fans, sites, and blogging?
I am a slave to the MySpace culture, unfortunately.
Sure. And does that keep you from doing what? Are you studying?
I am at the moment. He just called me from the cold, dank, rat-infested cell that is A-level revision.
Ooh, I don't envy you there. Oh, what are you studying for?
I'm doing 3 A-levels at the moment. I'm doing maths, politics, and drama.
You are an absolute brain box with an artistic side. That sounds extraordinary, because drama, we all know, is a doddle at A-level. Anyone who's been there knows
I know
that.
several people who would say the same as you, and I can assure you it's really hard.
Oh, please. What are you doing? You're just prancing around like Rufus. What does drama involve nowadays?
There are written exams as well. There's like coursework and practical stuff. There is written exams.
Yeah, as long as you just say that you like Bertolt Brecht, you'll be fine, won't you?
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
And so meanwhile, back at maths, I imagine maths is the one you're really giving your focus to on your revision, is it surely?
Not really, because I've done really well in that so far. Drama's actually the one I need to bring the grade up on.
So, and what happens if you do well in the A-levels?
If I do well in the A-levels and get 3 A's, then I can actually go to Oxford and study law there.
Whoa!
I'll tell you this, this guy is going in the listener bank, alright, because this is the sort of person you want on the line when perhaps the top BBC bosses come round. Maybe they're just paying a visit, you know, like the Royals sometimes do. Oh, hang on, who's this we've got on here? It's an Oxford graduate and general all-round brain box who can also recite a bit of Shakespeare. How's that for you?
If you ever need a lawyer in the future, if you're being sued for, you know, copyright infringement or whatever.
Is that what you're thinking of doing, law?
Law, yeah. I've got a place at Oxford to do law, I just need to get the grades.
I'll tell you this, have you got a lady?
I don't have a lady.
Because you are going to be quite the catch in about 5 years' time. We might well, if we're still on air in 5 years' time, why don't we just hock you out? You can come on the show.
Why not?
We'll get you, sell you to the highest bidder. And so, are you confident with the A-levels? I never was. Are you quietly confident?
I'm reasonably confident. It's still a bit nerve-wracking though.
It is.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to take textbooks in the drama exam?
Oh no. You'll
Plays?
probably use this as.
You're allowed to take notes in?
Yeah.
That's absolutely outrageous.
But then the questions are harder. I was allowed to take notes into my Chaucer exam, but it just means the questions are even harder.
Exactly.
I was allowed.
Daily Mail's right. Britain's getting dumbed down.
I was allowed to take copies of the plays into my drama, I think my theatre studies A-level, and I wasn't allowed to take notes. I had to write notes secretly in the margins and pretend it was just a bit of scrawl.
We're allowed to do that, but we are actually allowed to write notes in the margin.
This is preposterous.
Absurd.
As you say, dumb down
point of an
Britain.
exam?
Get Richard Littlejohn on. Shake his hand. So listen, all the very best with the A-levels, because that is nerve-wracking.
Very much.
And obviously, if you do get to Oxford, you'll forget all about us, your old working class chums.
Oh no, I'll
Rufus.
still be listening.
Thank you. Before we get to the choice you've chosen for us today, is there a song that sort of radically changed your life? I guess you've only really discovered music fairly recently, if you're still quite young.
Yeah, I have to say I've been really into U2 for a while, and I think New Year's Day is an incredibly uplifting song, and I don't know if you've heard of it, but in it the Edge plays on both the piano and the guitar simultaneously.
Wow!
And that somebody could do that, you know, it seemed incredible to me. And it got me into playing guitar.
Oh, so you play guitar as well?
Yeah,
Oh,
very
goodness
well.
me. You're going to be a future Prime Minister.
I wish I was 3 years younger.
Oh, hey, Sammy?
I wish I was 3 years younger.
Who you wish you were 3 years
Yeah.
younger? Don't worry about those age differences, that's fine. Okay, so listen, what tune have you chosen for us this week, then?
Well, it's a tune by someone called Slow Club.
Right.
I was first drawn to Johnny Flynn on this programme.
Right, yes, he played a session for us last year.
Yeah, went to see him, he was fantastic. And Slow Club were one of the support acts, and I was very impressed by them. And this is a track called Me and You by Slow Club.
Thank you so much. You've brought it full circle. You're introducing to us after we did that to you. Thank you so much. Stay there. We'll talk to you again in a sec. Here's Slow Club. That's the choice of one of our listeners, Alex, and that was Me and You by Slow Club. Thank you so much, Alex. We've all enjoyed that in the studio here. We've all been having a right old romp.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, I saw them with my mate Simon, and I thought they were really... Also, they were playing the back of a chair with drumsticks, which I thought was very unique.
Classy.
Yeah.
Cheap as well. obviously not shifting many units.
They had no expense on the percussion.
And listen, all the very best, because it sounds to me you're doing your maths, you're doing your politics, you're doing your drama. You are probably going to end up, at the very least, a Tony Blair, maybe a Gordon Brown. You know, and it'd be great to be able to dig this out of the archives and embarrass you when we're on local radio in about 15 years' time. So all the very best, and it's great to talk to you. Thank you so much for getting in touch.
Well.
Thank you, mate.
Bye-bye.
If you want to get in touch, there is ways of doing it. Harry, what are they?
Well, you'd probably go to the Six Music webpage at bbc.co.uk/Six Music. You'd find the links to our show, and you'd press the little button which says recommend a track.
And it is great to think that he will one day rule the country or drop out and become a smackhead. We just don't know.
BBC.
Oasis, of course, and Supersonic from 1994, and I played that as one of the other tunes that changed my life, and I think not because I've become the world's greatest Oasis fan, but just because Britpop, I think, was the sort of first musical scene that I could feel that I could claim as my own, and that I sort of got quite heavily involved with. Dan, you remember those university days?
I do indeed.
I
yeah.
was pogoing around the Students' Union.
Well, there was back in the old Warwick Uni days, I think Oasis played long before they were famous.
That's true.
And even I claim to have been at that gig now. I think there were about 50 people there.
It was actually at Harry's University.
Yeah, it was at Conch University.
That's the one,
and my friend, who's more experienced at gig going than me, said, no, we don't need to buy tickets in advance. It's the Students' Union, we'll be fine. Yeah, got there, couldn't get in, furious.
Well, part of the reason that you couldn't get in was because I was already in there with a couple of pals. I knew all about it, went to see them there, early days, probably only 100 people, and I have to say, even then, Liam, you know, just extraordinary to see him in that tiny room. Such charisma, off the scale, if you don't mind me saying. And it's nice to see that he's done so well. You know, good luck to him. But yes, so it's nice to think that you can have a sort of musical scene. Sammy, do you feel that you've had a musical scene? You've been part of one?
The scene that I tried to adopt was Britpop, but I was only about 8 or 9, so it's quite difficult to become part of a scene.
The right mentality, but not the right age.
Yeah, I did really get into Blur and Pulp at that time, but again, the wrong age. I've never really felt part of a movement per se. I feel I missed out on being a punk or something like that. I've just drifted endlessly between different types of genre.
Well, thank you very much. That was a nice and useful praising. Round of applause. So before we get to Sammy's record that changed your life, we got a few more from the listeners.
Yeah, Richard's emailed in and said that the song that changed his life was Hit Me Like You Did for the First Time by the Flaming Lips. It was on a mixtape, a proper mixtape, not a CD, that a friend made. He instantly fell in love with the Flaming Lips, as well as being intelligent, talented, meaningful. They were also weird and seemed to stand up for outsiders and people who were different.
That sounds like me!
Exactly.
People's champion.
And his other one is Like a Rolling Stone by Bob Dylan, which he heard in his last year at school, made him realise how important music could be. There is some interesting graffiti at Charing Cross Station, which appeared 2 weeks ago. Someone has written in marker pen, Bob Dylan is not interesting. Which I thought was fantastic.
Oh, that's quite provocative.
Yeah.
That's a phone in for next week's show. Tiny Dan.
Site supervisor Jason has taken time out to email in. He was a complete and utter U2 freak and went to see them at Wembley in '97. Now I know where you think this is going, but no. Along came a band